Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech, so honest it hurts, and thank you so much for stopping by today. I just thought I'd jump in here. This is the 1-year anniversary of me going actually full-time on YouTube. Well, not just YouTube, but YouTube being like sort of a part of what I do, and I'm not working for somebody else. You know what I mean. Late October last year is when I finally stopped working at my old job and started to do this as the thing that I did full time. So it's been an interesting year. We can say that. Lots of things have happened that I didn't necessarily anticipate when talking about starting a new business or anything like that. But be that as it may, I've learned a lot. Things have moved forward, etc., etc. So I'm going to go through. I've got some stuff that I want to talk about. I got some Q&A kind of questions from people on Twitter and other places that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to try and answer all of the questions that you might have about what it's like to be a full-time person on YouTube. I don't know. Let's just get into it. So I guess the first thing that anybody would want to ask is it what I expected? And the answer is sort of yes and no. Yes, it's what I expected because I've done this before. I had time where I was a full-time musician and I did that, and I've not had steady jobs, but just done other things, creative and otherwise, before. So yeah, I knew what to expect. Over a long period of time, this is a longer period of time than I'd done any of those things. Over a longer period of time, it's really important to be good at organizing yourself and doing what you need to do in order to like get up and get moving and get the stuff done that you need to get done, especially since like I've been working my full-time job. I've been a teacher for 15 years, and for the last 10 of those years, I was the director of a writing and humanities program at a college of medicine here in the Midwest. And that was a busy job. That was a big time job. That was a really fun job. I really liked that job. And I didn't realize how much it was structuring my time. Like I could go to work and do work, and at lunch I could do some writing, and then like, in between I could get ready for some YouTube stuff, and then I come home and I make a YouTube video or go live or do something like that, and just lather, rinse, repeat. And it was easier seemingly to be organized. So I had to figure out how to organize myself a little bit better. That's the thing that I didn't necessarily expect. The COVID thing has also been weird, so it's hard to judge like what this year would have been like had things been as they normally are. No, but I'm not going to try and make any excuses. People have thrived on YouTube, and people have thrived in lots of different ways, even though there's been this difficulty. So it's just something that happened, and I think that's all we can say. We just have to go from there. What has been bad? Well, let's not say bad. What has been challenging? I think the most challenging thing is so I'm 49 years old. Well, I'm 48 right now. At Sunday, I'm 49 years old, and I quit my job at 48 to become a full-time content creator, which is what I've always wanted to do with my life, which has been my goal for my entire life. I never wanted to work for other people, although I've had a lot of jobs that I really enjoyed. So as somebody who's on the precipice of 49 years old, it's a little bit of a different situation. I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got car payments, and I've got mortgage, and I've got bills, and I've got all that kind of stuff, which is normal. And yeah, but working in this way, as sort of a freelance contractor, honestly, is a lot different than just knowing that you're going to get direct deposited money in the bank on the first of every month, or every other week, or something like that. There's been an adjustment period where I was definitely afraid that I wasn't going to be able to make the bills, and that fear was in the back of my mind a lot. I've been fortunate enough to be able to continue to make the bills and do things and all that, and there have been opportunities here and there that have helped me to do that. I grew really quickly in 2018, and then 2019 kind of plateaued off and was growing, and was the channel was developing, and then starting 2020, something happened. I went to CES in January, and basically between the time I came back from CES in February sometime, when the whole COVID thing happened, like views dropped off and all kinds of weird stuff. And I think it was kind of like almost in my mind, a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was having a lot of imposter syndrome, and I think probably worrying about whether or not I was creating the right stuff to get people interested in the videos that I was doing, when all along really what I should have been doing is just making videos that I wanted to make. And it's hard to do that though, because YouTube, with the algorithm and the way that it all works, you have to be very, very aware, very planful of how things are going to play out. So I think it was still a big learning process for me throughout this year. Imposter syndrome is a big deal. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. It's hard to transition from being one thing and then be another thing. Even if you are already that thing, part of your mind says, I'm just this person. How can I be doing this? And it's very difficult to start to believe that you should be doing what you're doing oftentimes. And it's not just with this kind of thing, it's with a lot of different kinds of things, but this kind of thing was really challenging. And it took me a while to get over it, to believe that the channel wasn't going to just drop off the face of the earth, and that I could continue to build and grow, even if it was like kind of a slow and kind of a weird year where I was trying to figure out what my content really should be. So that was probably the worst part of it, with the added stress of everything else that's going on in the world. I was trying to be too perfect. I was afraid of failing. I was just trying to be a little too fine. I was not making videos free and easy the way that you need to make videos. And there are a lot of different ways that other creators deal with it. And I just had to go back to thinking about, well, I just want to make videos about the stuff that I like, while still recognizing that, Painfully Honest Tech is a tech channel, and I can't go off in 1,000 directions. So there's all this little fine tuning that you have to do. So that's what this year has been, both in my workload and my work life balance, etc., etc. It's just been a year of adjustment. I didn't just jump into the first year and be like, yes, I'm doing fantastically. I have several friends that I've cried to on Twitter DMs and stuff that would back me up on that. It has been a challenging year for a lot of different reasons. This is the first year that the channel, since 2016, the first year that the channel hasn't grown like double what it had in the previous years. You're not always going to have years like that. And 2018 into 2019 was a sort of aberrant year. Like I said, I got a bunch of questions on Twitter and elsewhere, and I'm going to try and go through those and answer those questions. Hopefully they'll fill out things, and then we'll be done. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll answer those questions as well. But let's go with the first of these Twitter questions. Super Mobile Fans asks, sponsored videos and honest reviews, how to balance both, and the difficulty and the solution. So definitely, when you go full time, you have to make money at doing this. But if I am Painfully Honest Tech, I also have to maintain a certain level of credibility and live up to that name, not just for anybody else, but for myself, and make sure that I'm doing the things that I do in an ethical way. And so, yeah, that's hard to figure out. One thing that I do is I do more sort of pre-roll ads for stuff that's unrelated to the things that I'm talking about or reviewing. Companies will approach me or something like that, and we'll work out a deal where for 30 seconds I'll talk about their product. It has to be a product that I myself have used, would use, and familiar with, that kind of thing. And in doing so, that's one way to bring in some money. I also did live streams on Amazon and just talked about products that I liked, and that was a way to do some of that, as well as I don't do sponsored videos for reviews. I won't review something for money. I'll do like a first impressions, a sort of like walkthrough of what the product is, and maybe how to, if it's something that, you know, has some detail to it, maybe how it works. But I won't review it and say you should buy this or shouldn't buy this if it's a sponsored video. I don't do very many of those. I try not to do very many of those, but sometimes that's what the client wants. And as long as they understand that I'm not stamping my seal of approval on their product, then everything is kind of okay. Jason Nellis, he says, there are thousands of videos about financial and technical stuff for going full-time. Talk to us about the creative side, what gets you excited about to make videos, even when there's the extra weight of it being your job. There is definitely an extra weight, and it's an extra weight that you have to kind of get comfortable carrying, and you have to find a way to separate that from the business side of what you're doing, which can be really hard. How do I make this a viable business entity, especially with a channel like mine, where I have made some manufacturers, some companies angry with the way that I've covered some of their stuff, and that's probably not generally good business practice. At the end of the day, I don't want to be beholden to a company and their product. When it comes to being creative, I try and have a plan for the videos that I need to make and some videos that I want to make, and ultimately some other creative stuff that I want to do as well. One thing about my experience, I've been a writer for my whole life, and I went to a graduate school that's a very prestigious graduate school for writing, creative writing. I have an MFA in fiction. And one thing about writing is, writing is all about putting your butt in the seat and being there and doing the work day after day after day after day. And I wrote 1,000 words a day for something like 8 or 10 years. That was just my thing. I had to do that. Either I was editing or I was writing, and I was doing it every day. I'd take, the weekends off from time to time, but I was always doing it. So when it comes to doing the YouTube thing, I had already developed that, okay, go sit down, do the work kind of thing. Still, the pressure of being full-time did weigh on my mind for quite a while. I hope that answers the question. Sean Murphy asks, do you regret going full-time? Yes and no. I gotta be honest. Yes and no. On one hand, I did not realize how much I would miss teaching and being around students and the people that I worked with and the classes that I taught. I didn't realize how much I would really miss that. It's not just the structure of it, but just the daily discourse of teaching a class and talking about literature and talking about writing and doing things like I ran a literary journal, and we had a podcast, and we had all kinds of different things that we did. And so I miss those kinds of things. And I guess if I had known that was going to be the case, I might have thought about trying to find some different solution to the full-time job and the YouTube thing, because I do miss the job. I do miss the job. It was a great job. Lance asks, how often do you have to censor yourself? Are there times you want to put something on full blast but worry it will create more unsub issues? This happens to, I think at a certain point it probably happens to a lot of YouTubers, and it definitely happened to me a couple of different times when I maybe was a little bit too much in this direction and then went in another direction. Or it's really hard to figure out how to stay consistent and clear with the sort of message and narrative that you're putting together. So yeah, there have been times when I've made people mad, and that has always been a little disappointing, and it took me a while to figure out. The hardest thing about being, a somewhat larger YouTuber is that you think of yourself in one way. You think of yourself as who you are and who you've been and all of your experiences put together and all that kind of thing. And the people on the other side have no idea who that is or what that is. So I really had to learn to understand that the people who were watching my videos didn't know me. didn't know like the ins and outs of who I was or why or any of this stuff. And that I just was that guy who yelled about technology on their TV or phone or whatever it is that they're watching the videos on. And I started to really think about like, how can I be that guy effectively with clear messaging and with like, just something that brings things to people's expectations. So I haven't really like censored myself. But I would say that I pick my spots differently, and I try and get the same messages across in different ways. Like the most recent video that I did about the iPhone and the charger being taken out of the box, 2 years ago, I would have been, like ranted and raved and screamed all over the place and gone crazy about that. But I kind of moved past that. And I feel like it's probably true that whenever you do something like that, something that's over the top, people start to tune out a little bit over time. And so I wanted to be more than just the guy that screams about things. I wanted to be thoughtful. When I'm on my podcast, that's probably the place where I can sort of let loose a little bit more, because the podcast is more of a group kind of event. And so there's a context to it. It's easier to sort of get the feel for the room, whereas a recorded video is going to go out and it's going to have a life of its own. But you adjust and you do the stuff. I mean, my wife has been with me through a career in music, a career in writing. We've been together since 1992. Yeah, 1992. So we've been through a lot of different stuff. And she has always respected what I do and what I try and do and the drive that I have to continue to do those things. It would be lying to say she was totally like not worried. Of course she was worried. But so far we've been able to make it work. And you kind of get to a point where it's possible to make it work. And then from there you start to build out like other sources of income and just things that you couldn't really get to before you went full time. And this first year has been about almost just like entirely setting up the stage for that second stage. But again, it's the imposter syndrome that I talked about before. Like, how do you get past the idea that you are this thing that you think that you are, or you want to be, or the imposter syndrome is just so difficult to handle, because it's always like it's in the back of your mind. It's very like sort of seditious, because it just preys on you in the back of your mind. And until you like recognize it and recognize the symptoms of the imposter syndrome, and then start to try and push back against it and become comfortable and confident in doing what you're doing, it's difficult. I mean, I didn't intend to start Painfully Honest Tech and do, tech reviews and commentary on YouTube. Like I plan to be like a full-time musician and a full-time writer and all these different things. And YouTube was a thing that I just did because it was fun. But it turned out that this is where I am. And this is what I do. And it's a window, it's a doorway for me to go off and have the platform to do those other things. The first year has been a strange year. I can't say it's been a great year. I can't say it's been a terrible year. It's just been a year of a lot of different challenges, both from within and without. And I've been working toward getting over those things and moving forward and learning from my experiences in ways that I couldn't learn before I made this jump. Would I do things differently? Yeah, I'm sure I would if I had, the opportunity to go back. But at the same time, that's just not how the world works. So let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. I really do appreciate you guys being here. It's crazy that it's been a year. It's crazy that this is still, I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Once again, my name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech, so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.